Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Back Pocket Stories. Relatable, reliable, and really freaking good. This is a show that gives business owners, thought leaders, and creative professionals a platform to tell their core why story. Why back pocket? Because we all have and need those accessible and relatable stories to engage our target audiences. I'm Paul Kreiter, founder and creator of Kreiter Creatives, and thrilled to have you here. If you have a back pocket story in you, or you think so, contact me to learn about my 90-minute workshop designed to uncover exactly that, your very own why I do what I do story. We all have one, and it's the real reason why people want to work with you. There's no better way to amplify your brand and connect with your target audience than tell an amazing story. You can find me here on LinkedIn or at www.kreitercreatives.com, which brings us to our guest. Adam Peak is a believer in spreading good news and being a hope dealer. He goes by the moniker the Packaging Pastor. With extensive knowledge of the printed packaging process, Adam takes pride in his ability to connect professionals in the industry through his podcast, The People of Packaging. To him, selling is more than just closing deals. When done correctly, it benefits the companies, customers, representatives, and ultimately supports our planet's sustainable goals. Adam, welcome to Back Pocket Stories.
Thanks. I need to be very clear here. That bio was enhanced by ChatGPT a little bit. Just so you know, I needed some help and did 80% of the work. And then I was like, can you help get this thing the rest of the way?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. This is ChatGPT. I'm not even here. Like, this is an AI clone. Yeah, see, I'm busy doing other things. This is not that important, actually.
That actually make it. You're sort of. I'm hoping I get like the movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. If you've ever seen that, I'm hoping
I have
the very last one, and you start talking about how you eat dolphins and
pizza. Like, I want pizza. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I want is pizza. Pizza. It's like pizza. Everything's pizza. Great movie, great reference. So we're going to learn a lot about you, Adam, in this 30 minutes we have, and our audience is going to start to learn about you with something that's become a regular starting point for these back pocket story experiences. Is a game that we'll play, Two Truths and a Lie. Some of our listeners out there will start to this will be a familiar theme here, but for those who don't know how the game works, Adam will tell us 3 facts about himself. It could be personal facts, professional facts, anything about his life. 3 facts. 2 of those facts will be true. 1 of those facts won't be true. Hence, 2 truths and a lie. Okay, Adam, are you ready to lie to all these nice people that are joining us?
It is difficult because lying is one of the big 10, and
thou shall not. But hey,
but I think my conscience is clear that I will be unearthing the truth very quickly, so it doesn't feel like a lie that will be in perpetuity.
He says as he hesitates, wrestling with his ethical dilemma. Got it.
The first truth is that I never lie.
False.
Dang it.
False.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
All right. Fact number 1, Adam.
Fact number 1 is that I have a rap song that I wrote and recorded on iTunes. Fact number 2 is that, let's see, what would be fact number 2? I have done genocide orphan counseling in Rwanda. And fact number 3 is that my podcast is the number 2 career podcast in El Salvador.
Right. And bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Okay. So, all right. Now, for those who are peeking in and I made this joke earlier.
Don't use my last name in vain.
Peeking.
Paul.
Everyone's peeking in. Um, for those stopping by to experience this conversation between Adam and I, if you feel like you know what the truths are or the lies are, you can put it in the comments. All right. I'm going to start by saying, I'm going to point out what I think is a fact.
Okay.
And I would like to say that and I'd love for you to dive into this if it's true, is your experience in Rwanda.
True.
Oh, wow. All
Yep.
right. So
I did
help
that.
us paint the picture for us. What brought you there? What's going on there?
Yeah, so it was 2011. I had an opportunity to go to Kigali and Ruwenzori with a friend of mine, and part of that trip was we got to go learn about the 1994 genocide. For those of you who've never been to Rwanda or don't know history, it was a viciously brutal war in which 1 million people died in about 100 days. And and there was about 7 million people in Rwanda, which is about the size of the state of Vermont. So,
Yeah.
and the people there are very proud of where they are today, and so they actually request that you go see the museums, see the genocide memorials. They want you to feel the depths of how far they fell so that you can appreciate how far they've come. And that was really moving and powerful. I got to go spend time with at this point in time, these individuals are in their 20s, but there's still a large contingent of people, obviously, who have been deeply impacted by the genocide, and they were orphaned during it, have grown up and become business professionals and other sorts of things. And so I got to go meet with them for a full day and just listen and hear their stories, which was I still have kept most of those. Even, I haven't told my wife about them because they were just too real. Don Cheadle's movie did not fully capture, I think.
Yeah.
It was a great movie, right? But and maybe the most moving experience of my life happened there. I was able to preach. So I'm a pastor, ordained pastor. I was able to preach at a church in Kigali, and it was awful. I was so bad. I'd never spoken with a translator before. I didn't know what I was doing. It was hot. I tend to speak without notes, just very, I study, I get my stuff ready, I practice a lot, and then I go preach. There's no flow when you speak with a translator, all that. So I'm doing that, and there's two gentlemen in the front who were sobbing. And I thought, I must be nailing it, but I feel like I'm not doing a great job here at all. And I asked the pastor afterwards. Turns out it was not me by any stretch of the imagination. I said, "What was happening with those two gentlemen?" And he said, "Oh, that man murdered that man's whole family in the genocide. And they've come to learn about the power of forgiveness and grace in church. And they're reminded of that every time it happens every Sunday." And I thought, that's pretty heavy. And it gives me honestly, going back to the introduction, it does give me a lot of hope. It does give me hope, in the midst of conflict, in the midst of despair, that there can be good news, that there is hope that exists in the world. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's an area of the world that I want to go back to desperately and go visit people. The people are beautiful, the culture is beautiful. The scenery is beautiful. Couldn't recommend it enough.
Wow. A fascinating look into your experiences so far. I'm so happy. On one hand, I'm happy that that's true. And on the other, I'm not happy that that's true because
Yeah, no, I
it's such
understand.
a horrible time in history. And I'm a Jewish man with a Jewish family with Jewish history, which not to say that the Holocaust is there. I don't think you can rate genocides, but
No, it's a bad idea.
we have a sense of that history in our own
And by the
family.
way, in the memorials in Rwanda, there's a lot of history about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
They go through global genocides, and they're like, we're one of these. We're certainly not the only one.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's obviously very heavy. I have also been able to go visit in when I was in high school, I went to Germany, and we went to, I believe it was Dachau, and learned about the Holocaust there. So
Yeah.
I really value learning in not just from books, but I really value learning experientially, and I've been blessed enough to be able to travel and
Yeah.
learn that.
Nothing like being somewhere in person to get that kind of impact you're looking for.
Correct.
Um, awesome. Awesome start here. Okay. We're still playing this game. If everyone just came, yes,
Yeah.
we actually started with a game and we got onto Rwanda and genocide and the Holocaust. But this is a game. We're supposed to be playing a game.
Yeah.
The game is Two Truths and a Lie. So that was actually a truth of Adams that he did genocide counseling for orphans in Rwanda. Outstanding. Okay. The rough transition to the next thing, which I hope is true, is that you have a rap song on iTunes.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yes.
I do.
Okay.
Um,
I
I
mean,
do
are
have
you gonna spit any beats?
that's
Are you gonna
not
lay down
that's
some rhymes or
that's Paul, that's just not correct. And I feel
that's
like
is that a
maybe
lie? Did I just lie
you
that you were
just
gonna do
lied.
that?
I don't think that people spit the beats. I've never heard.
Well,
I do, I do
you
have
at
a
least
I do
gotta
have
tell
a
us
vegetarian shirt that says "Let us turn up the beats."
word,
Um,
word. That's
yeah, word.
fresh, you know?
You
Jeez.
should, yeah. We can. I did no. So I write a lot of spoken word, just personally. It's a way to exercise my creative side, um, and I I don't mean for my stories to go, like, dark and sad,
Go for it.
but it was, so when I was pastoring in Colorado Springs, one of my close friends, was serving in the US military, and, him and his family went to our church. They have 3 kids, and he died in Afghanistan tackling a suicide bomber. His group was awarded a Congressional Medal of Honor, but he was the one who tackled the person, knowing full well they were running at a crowd. He was on security, and he had a moment, right, where he knew, I'm not going to make it, and sacrifice himself for the lives of Afghanistani people, which is pretty remarkable. And so, as part of her grieving process, his wife, who had now been widowed, asked a bunch of us to. She really loved music, and she said, "Hey, can you create an album? And I want, I want this to happen. And part of my sermons, I will incorporate poetry and spoken word. If coming from a Jewish background, you can probably appreciate that most of the longest book in the Hebrew scriptures is the book of Psalms, which is a book of poetry, written by predominantly King David and King Solomon. And so I've always thought, why is poetry not more inclusive in, if we're going to be talking about this book? So
Mhm.
I've just been doing that. So she asked me to write and record a hip hop album, or a song, which I did, which got put on iTunes. It's not, I don't actually think it's very good. Uh,
What's the name of this song
it,
so everyone can go look it up and download it right now?
it's, you can just look up my name. There's not a lot of Adam Peaks on
Peek,
Yeah,
folks.
2 E's.
Yes.
I believe we titled it "Eyes on the Prize." The beat was made by somebody who'd never made a hip hop beat before. We all did our best. I'd never recorded a song, um,
But
but
it's true.
it's
That's a true fact. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Okay, well then, which gets to you lied to us.
I did. It wasn't entirely a lie. I believe I'm the number 6 career podcast in El Salvador as of this morning, and I said we were number 2.
Well,
So
this is your lies are probably going to knock you down a peg, probably to 7, I think, by the end of this conversation, because you shouldn't lie to people, right? You should know that as a pastor. I
no, I know it's a shame. But
What a shame.
I will repent, though I'm not Catholic. I can
Whatever works,
there's
whatever gets the job done. You
probably
know.
some sort of penance that I can pay to
So,
remove from it.
so, so, what starting out this way does is it already provides incredible insight as to what makes you you, right? How you became what you are now. So we need to know how you found yourself in the packaging industry.
Yeah.
What is that bridge from these incredible, traumatic life moments to the work that you do now?
Yeah, it's not obvious. I mean,
Well,
everybody goes, it's like
I mean,
peanut
it's
butter
obvious
and
to
jelly,
me.
right? You go
The question is more for the listeners.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely a very abnormal career path, and one that I'm not, obviously not ashamed of at all. So, there was a moment in my life where I was living in Colorado and working at a church, and I was a voluntary teaching pastor, basically, which is not.
What years is this? Give us a sense of time.
So this was from 2010 until we lived in Colorado, and I worked at the church from 2010 until 2018. And right in the middle of this, maybe around 2012, 2013, somewhere around there, the church had kind of grown to a place where we thought that I could go full time and be have that be my vocation. Most teaching pastors are paid full time to do that job, and I was paid $0, which was actually quite helpful when you're a pastor. If there's any pastors who listen to this, it's pretty nice when someone's like, "I don't like what you're saying," and you're like, "Well, if you leave, my job gets easier because I'm a volunteer, so you can take your tithe money and you can go if you really want to."
Yeah.
And that happens. It's part of the gig. And I had this moment where we're talking through that, and I had this period of my life at my job and I'm selling packaging, thinking this isn't really what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'd like to just, you know, be an evangelist, be a preacher, do all that stuff. And I had meetings with people from all walks of life, in my sales territory in a period of like a month. I mean, people from various parts of the world, from different sexual orientations, from different socioeconomic backgrounds, from different religious backgrounds. And I got to have very real, engaging conversations with them as people, not just, "Hey, I make stuff. Do you want to buy it?" And they're like, "Sure," or "No." And then we moved on. They
Mhm.
were, I talked with one gentleman about Rwanda during a business meeting. We had he had been there before, and we had this very like deep conversation about it.
Mhm.
And in talking with my wife, I realized this is actually a space in which I get more joy. Not be At the time, it wasn't because I really love a tuck top auto bottom
I was gonna
24
say that's my
yes bra.
favorite. That's
Most people love it because it's an auto bottom, and auto
right.
bottom girls make the rockin' world go round, is what
And
Fred Durst.
you can't I mean, who can pass up the tuck
Yeah,
top, you know?
yeah, yeah. I don't need a snap lock bottom. Give me the tuck top auto bottom,
Thank you.
and that's
Is everyone getting that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. You got okay. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's no one here,
There's no one here
so
either.
uh, so I did not fall in love with packaging because I loved packaging. I fell in love with it because you get to talk with people, engineers, marketing, creative, sales, legal, all that. Everybody in an organization at a consumer packaged goods company has something to say about the way their products are packaged. And when I started to realize that, and I realized that I really genuinely love connecting with different people and hearing about them and their stories and what their jobs are like and how does it impact their lives and all that stuff. I realized that I I could go do the things I love to do and be with people from all around the world, and it didn't not that being with people in a tight community in one region of the world is bad. I don't mean that. It's just not how I was wired. It's not
Yeah.
how I was
Yeah.
made. So
Yeah.
I decided to stay in the packaging industry, and yeah, I picked packaging pastor because it sounded fun on TikTok, to be totally honest with you. That was it.
It does sound fun. And this idea that you're still an evangelical, but for a different industry, right?
Well, it's to say industry sounds pretty crass if you're like,
That's
well,
true. for a
But
different for a
but
different market, a different audience.
yeah, I mean, if you really got down to my core value and my core why, and where I connected with, obviously, the people in the industry, but then I started to realize the problems that the industry creates and solves. That was then my connection into learning more about sustainability and the impact it has. Um, I believe that people. I believe two things are true from my religious perspective: is that everybody is beautiful and created in the image of God, and so when I interview people for my podcast, when I talk to people, it's I get to talk with I get to learn more about God through talking with people. And so that is a huge motivator for me, just in networking and learning and growing and sharing and interviewing. And then on the other hand, I believe that people are given a special, sort of care for and stewardship over this earth. Um, and I want to participate in both people realizing their purpose, that they are who they are, and also why that we have a responsibility here. No other animals that I'm aware of are holding conferences about deforestation. They're impacted by it for sure, but I haven't seen, the conference where apes and monkeys in the rainforest are all getting together to say, what are we going to do about all these things?
Yeah.
Um, there's an animalistic instinct, but we have the ability to actually come together and communicate in a common language across multiple different stakeholders to say, like, can we do better, please? And
Yeah.
um, so to say that, I guess the reason why I go there is because I don't feel like I'm less of a Christian because I'm not a pastor.
Mhm.
And there is a stigma that happens there. It's like, oh, okay, well, pastors, you're very important in the Christian faith, or rabbis, or priests, or imams, or whatever it might be. And then there's just the rest of the people, and I'm like, no, no, we're all actually equally valuable in this globe, regardless of what your title is. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's such an interesting approach to part of your job, which is to sell, right? You have to sell. Um, and I know that we don't. I know that's also a stigma when I'm in sales. It's like, like you said, buy this, buy this, buy this sort of mentality. And sounds like you have a different approach to the selling process. Can you talk to us business people out there who are always trying to sell what we do, whether it's a service or a product? Can you tell us what your approach is, what you fall back on, some of your favorite strategies for sales?
yeah, for sure. So the the thing that I think has really come into the sales industry over the last 5 years, which I'm not the one to bring it. There are torchbearers of this that I'm just sort of following. Um, People like Beck Holland, Keenan, Dale Dupree, Josh Braun, Rob Jepson. These are all people that I know and follow and respect a tremendous amount. Rachel May is another one that are very big proponents of, like, lead with empathy and creativity when it comes to the sales process. Start with that. If you start with hey, the objective at the end of this is to get a sale, then you will chase a sale, and you will forget that there are real humans involved in that process, at least for now, until AI takes over and we all die. um
Well, it already has happened.
Oh, that's
At this
right,
point,
that's
right?
right. I'm
Yeah.
talking with, Chat
Yeah.
GP Kreiter.
Chat, Paul GPT,
Yeah,
Paul T.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
my apologies. Um, but let's just say that there's a dystopic future where that doesn't happen, and you have to go back to talking to people again. Uh, so the idea that, like, my end goal in sales and disconnecting from that outcome of, like, I have a budget, I have an ROI, I have to close this, it becomes very robotic, and it becomes very unemotional in that sense. But we forget that people are emotional beings. There's a one of my favorite sales books, has nothing to do with sales, um, and it's written by Jonathan Haidt, Jonathan Haidt, and it's called I just remember the subtitle is "Why Good People Divide Over Religion and Politics." Um, that's the subtitle. What is the title of the stupid book? Anyway, I normally
Well,
have
we can
that.
all find it.
Yeah, Jonathan Haidt's book. He's a researcher he's a professor at Yale. He talks about it's basically a book on sociology and how the human brain works. And he says that humans are emotional the righteous mind. That's what it's called. The righteous mind, why good people divide over religion and politics. And it became one of my favorite sales books because it gives depths of insight into how people make decisions and how they think. And he says that people are emotional elephants trying to be guided by a tiny intellectual writer. And so if you reduce sales down to just intellectual, you do these tasks, and then once you're done with those tasks, then this is the thing that's going to spit out this sales widget, this PO is going to spit out at the end. You ignore so much of the person. And so I am a giant advocate of the objective is not to get the sale. The objective is to make a connection to the person, and you get to be a guide and helping them solve their problem. And if that's all you're trying to do, what you'll find is you can be pretty good at helping people solve their problems. I was just on a call yesterday with a gentleman, and I said, I don't know that we can really help you, but what's something that you're really struggling with? And he told me, and I was like, who can help you are these two people. They have nothing to do. This is a work call. They have nothing to do with my company. I don't know if anything will happen. Now, maybe this person takes another job and they remember the conversation and they remember you treated them well and that you worked with integrity. I'm not saying it doesn't lead to sales. It's just like Josh Braun talks about disconnecting from that outcome and focusing on how can I help this person understand what their problems are? How can I help them solve their problems? And if that's what I'm doing, then I'm winning.
Hmm.
Regardless of if it impacts my budget positively or not. And
Hmm.
what I have found is that when you genuinely take interest in people, that the outcome from that does end up being a shorter sales cycle because you find people to say no to. The outcome does end up being, a lower cost of customer acquisition. The data actually supports that is the right way to go, but then it becomes this slippery slope because then you're like, oh, but maybe I can trick it. Maybe I
Hmm.
can start to finagle. And then you start becoming less about the person, and the person is just a means to an end. And then you get into the used car sales cycle guy,
Sure.
that stereotypical used car
Right.
sales cycle.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's fascinating. What is your current role at your current company? Talk about what you do now, your company, and how people can get in touch with you to continue this conversation with you after this episode is over.
yeah, so I'm the senior vice president of sales at Myers. I have the pure joy of being able to work with 17 incredible humans that get to go out and solve problems every day. I've been here for about 2 years. It's a family owned company. Chris and Michael Dillon and the Dillon family have been truly amazing. So I've loved all of the time that I've been able to spend there. You can connect up with me on LinkedIn. So Adam Peak with 2 E's. You can find me on TikTok at Packaging Pastor. You can go to packagingpastor.com and get all of my information if you'd like. You can, send me a direct message on LinkedIn. I try to answer all of them if I can. You can find my podcast is the People of Packaging podcast. And it would be awesome is you can order my children's book that my wife and I wrote with our kids called Packaging Peaks in the Sticky Situation. That's on Amazon. And I would love to sell out of the 1,000 copies that we made.
Awesome. Well, I'll be posting that later, along with this episode. Will go live for everybody to see when they can stumble upon it in their workday. Adam, what a breath of fresh air to speak with someone who comes to the world of sales and business from a really interesting background and journey. And it's these things that make us up, which are the differentiators. That's the reason why you're good at and love your job, is because of these unique things. I'm with you. I think there's always an opportunity to create a relationship and use that sort of forward thinking. Like, that's the goal. It's like, how can we create a mutual I like this experience. And from there, everything else should be to just kind of work itself out. You develop enough relationships over time, people are going to come back and say, you know what? I don't care where you are. I don't care where you work for. It's you that I enjoyed. And you've demonstrated that quite well here. And I think all of us will appreciate your wisdom here. Thank you. For everyone who's tuning in today and will tune in later, thank you for being here. I think what you've seen is Adam's ability to talk about his core why. And that's what Back Pocket Stories are about. These always available right there in your back pocket, the story bank that you can use to make those connections, because that's what matters most. Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Paul.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode. So long.